if you would like your own free ebook, very practical step-by-step instructions on how to improve your English by yourself, click the link below and it will bring you straight there. Hello, I'm Sabrina from Inglés con Kilian, and I want to talk to you today about vocabulary, phrasal verbs, expressions and conjunctions. Let's get started. So first we're going to run through some really common phrasal verbs that you should know. Then we're going to run through some expressions that are very common. And then after that, we'll have a look at some conjunctions that are really useful. And at the end, I'll give you some advice on how to practice your new vocabulary. So let's go. 10 phrasal verbs that you should know. The first one is carry on. Carry on means to continue. So I'm going to carry on working after everyone else has finished. The second one is carry out. Carry out means to perform or to do something. So we carried out a thorough review of all the services. I have a lot of tasks to carry out before I can finish my work. This one's really useful for business as well. So don't get confused with carry on and carry out. Easy to say, I know. Put on is a really common one that you should also know. And the meaning can be to put on your clothes, put on your jacket, put on your hat, okay? In relation to getting dressed or shoes or jewelry or whatever. Okay, and then the opposite of put on here in this case is take off. So for example, put on your watch, take off your watch. Okay, I always take off my watch before I go to bed. I always put on my shoes before I go outside, for example. Put into means to place inside. So I put my phone into my bag before I go out, and then I put on my shoes. The opposite of put into is take out of. Okay, so maybe a way to remember, put on, take off, put and take, put into because it's going inside, and take out of because it's coming outside. So put and take. I take my phone out of my bag to check my messages. Catch up is also quite useful for work, actually. I have to catch up on some work that I missed when I was on holidays. We should catch up over a drink because we haven't seen each other for a long time. So you can use it to say about meeting someone that you haven't seen for a long time. Okay. Could we have a catch-up meeting tomorrow? I feel like I have missed a lot when I was off work, for example. Next one then is to hold on. And to hold on means to maintain a situation as it is. Or we often use this for wait as well, you know. Hold on, let me check. Or hold on, I think I know something that could help us. Okay. And the second last one is to look after. It's synonymous with care for. I look after my children after they come home from school. Or I care for my children when they come home from school. Okay. You can also use look after, for example, in a work situation where I go on holidays and my colleagues look after my work for me. Okay. Look forward to means to be excited for something to happen. I'm looking forward to the weekend. I always look forward to going home for Christmas, for example. And it's also a common expression at the end of more formal emails. I look forward to hearing from you. It's kind of a stock answer that you can always use when the email is a little more formal. I look forward to hearing from you. So that's 10 phrasal verbs that you should learn because they're very useful. 10 expressions you should learn. These ones are also very useful. These expressions can be used in different situations. So let's start. The first one, better late than never. maybe it's a little bit self-explanatory, but it's better to arrive than to never arrive at all. So better to come late, for example, to the party than not go to the party at all. Okay. Call it a day means to finish something. So it could be literally at the end of your working day. Let's call it a day there, guys, and we'll continue tomorrow. So let's stop now and we'll continue tomorrow. Or the business wasn't going so well, so we decided to call it a day. We closed the business. In this case, it's permanent. So it can be permanent or temporary. Easy does it. This expression means to be gentle when you're doing something or when you're moving something especially. Okay, so for example, if you're moving a piece of furniture together, you could say, okay, easy does it, be careful, put it down gently, something like this, one of those expressions. If something is getting out of hand, it means you're losing control. Okay, for example, the party got out of hand when some friends that we didn't know very well arrived, for example. Or we won't have alcohol at the party to stop it from getting out of hand, for example. The next one is hang in there. There's quite a lot of memes like this about this expression on the internet. You can type it in, hang in there, memes, so you can check it. And this expression means to, it's an expression of encouragement when you're in a difficult situation. So, for example, I'm not finishing this project, it's taken me a long time, and I could say, hang in there, you can do it. Or I'm going through a difficult situation, or I'm feeling very sick, hang in there, you'll get better soon. Something like this, ánimo in Spanish. No pain, no gain. This expression means that to be able to move forward or make progress, it shouldn't be very easy, you know. So for example, if you exercise and the next day you have pain, you could say no pain, no gain. I'm not going to get fit if if it's not difficult, for example. So a difficult situation or a hurtful situation means that there will be progress. So far, so good. This is very common. I use it a lot. It could be, for example, in a reply to someone, how are you doing? Yeah, so far, so good. Or more specifically in relation to asking you about something specific. How's work going? How's your new job going? Yeah, so far, so good. Everybody's really nice, for example. So that's a common one. To make a long story short, if you say this, you mean that you're going to summarize a long story. I have to say that the people that I know that use this usually tell a long story anyway. So you can think, okay, it's going to be a long story. But the real meaning is to make a long story short, and then they're supposed to give you a summarized version of a longer story. Okay, but it might not always work like that. On the ball. On the ball means that it could be a temporary thing or a permanent characteristic, for example. He's always on the ball when you ask him to do something. He always does things straight away. Or I'm going to get on the ball with this request straight away because it's a really important client, for example. Or we have to be on the ball and notice if there are any mistakes in the document, for example. Okay? Or for example, after programmers deploy something, they have to be on the ball in case there are bugs or glitches or they have to fix something. Okay, and finally, to make matters worse. So this is usually in the middle of when you're telling a story about something. So something happened, something bad happened, and then to make matters worse, something else bad happened, you know, like an accumulation of bad things. So, for example, my car broke down, and to make matters worse, I had no battery on my phone to call the emergency services, you know. So a bad situation became worse. So that's 10 expressions that could be very useful for you to know. Let's move on to 10 conjunctions that are also very useful. So I mean, a lot of conjunctions we use every day, like and because, and we don't even think of them as conjunctions. But there are other ones that are also very common, and they're nice to be able to use to enrich your English and make your English sound better. So let's try to learn them. The first one is so. And we can use this to give a reason. Okay. For example, it's also a synonym of therefore. I won't go to the party, so that way I'll be able to get to bed early and sleep well. Or another example could be, I didn't sleep very well, so I'm tired today. Okay? Or I will help the children with their homework so they will be able to finish it earlier, for example. Okay? A synonym is therefore. The next one is though or although. They're synonyms and this can mean in spite of or even though. For example, although I want to go to the party, I can't because I don't have a babysitter. Or though I want to go to the party, I can't because I don't have a babysitter. If you want to use in spite of, it's a little bit more complicated, so be careful. You have to say in spite of with the verb and ing. In spite of wanting to go to the party, I couldn't because I didn't have a babysitter, for example. The next one we have then is since. So you could use this with the amount of time that something has been happening, or it can also mean because. Okay. Since I didn't go to the party, I will have more rest this weekend. Okay. Or since I didn't go on holidays, I will take a long weekend next weekend to compensate, for example. And then in relation to time, I have been, so present perfect continuous, I have been living in Spain for 11 years. I have been teaching English since 11 years ago, or since 2011. Okay. The next one then is until. And this means up to a certain point, something has been happening. For example, I was working until 6 o'clock last night. Okay. Or I won't stop asking you until you tell me. Okay. Whether is the next one. And we're talking about a choice here. Whether you tell me or not, I'm going to go ahead and find out, for example. Okay. We will go out whether it rains or not. You can use as a synonym, for example, we will go out whether or not it rains, or we will go out whether or not, or whether it rains or not. And you could also say, we will go out if it rains or not, or even if it rains. So there are always different ways to say these, you know. Once means when or one time. Okay, so it has a few different meanings. I go there once a week. That means one time. Or once I finish my tasks, I will finish my work, for example. Okay. Or once the bell rings, we will go back into school, for example. When. So unless is another one that's quite useful. Unless means if something isn't the case. For example, I will go out unless it rains. So that means if it rains, I won't go out. But if it doesn't rain, I will go out. Okay. Unless you finish your homework, you cannot go out. So the meaning is you cannot go out if you don't finish your homework. Okay. Moving on to either or. Pronunciation here is either or either, whichever you like. The same with neither or neither. So either we can use for a choice of two things. I don't know if I want either the blue one or the black one. I have to choose. I will have either tea or coffee. I'm not sure. So a choice of two. Neither also implies two, but it's in negative. So I want neither tea nor coffee means I don't want tea and I don't want coffee. Okay. I speak neither Arabic nor French. Means I don't speak Arabic or I don't speak French. Okay. And then finally, both means the two options. I want both tea and cake. I want the two things, okay? I speak both English and Spanish. I speak the two languages. So I hope those conjunctions are useful and that you will be able to incorporate them into your speaking. So it's one thing to learn new vocabulary, but if you don't practice it, you're not going to remember it, you know? So ways to use your new vocabulary so that you will remember it is to review it so that you understand it. Make sure you understand it, okay? So the first time we're introduced to vocabulary, it's not going to be very easy for us to reproduce it or to know it. For me, for example, in Spanish, I need to hear a word 3-4 times before it's fixed in my brain, an expression more times to be able to reproduce it. So it's not going to happen immediately, okay? From this vocabulary, take 1 or 2 that are really useful to you now and try to remember them and try to use them. And then later add more and add more. So, don't try to remember everything immediately because that's just, in the end, you're not going to do that. So 1 or 2 now, another few later, and another few in a few weeks again. Okay. Cheat sheets. So make yourself a chuleta, make yourself like a piece of paper or a note in your phone or on your laptop or post-its around your laptop. But put the vocabulary that you want to learn somewhere that you're going to see it regularly, because the more you're exposed to it, the more likely you are to remember it. Okay. Try to practice it. Try to practice it in class, by yourself, alone, out loud, and by reviewing it, okay? Practice, practice, practice. So the idea is that you become familiar with like a wide range of vocabulary, but that you, like, as in your native language, that you reproduce the ones that are most useful to you. Because if you think about how you speak in your own language, you don't use new words all the time or new expressions all the time. You use the same ones over and over again. So it's better to know a few useful ones well and be able to say them well than to try to remember a lot of expressions. And in the end, you don't remember anything and you get confused. So that's some advice. And finally, as you remember and as you go, you can add little by little new words, new vocabulary, and new expressions. And hopefully that's helpful to improving your English. And if you need to, watch this over again, make some notes, write down the ones that are most useful to you, and try to practice them.